Vietnamese Dong exchange rate hits record high in 2025. Are you ready to cash in? Iraqi Dinar, written in paragraph format and including your channel intro. Welcome to RV News, the #1 destination for the latest, most explosive updates on the Iraqi Dinar, Vietnamese Dong, and everything related to the global currency reset and revaluation. If you're holding on to IQD or VND or you're just RV curious, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any urgent news that could literally change your financial life overnight. Today's breaking story is nothing short of historic. The Vietnamese Dong has officially hit its highest exchange rate ever in 2025, sending shockwaves through the currency community, and possibly signaling that we are at the tipping point of the long-awaited global currency revaluation. So if you've been holding on to VND for years, or even if you just recently got involved, you're going to want to hear every second of this report. We begin today's story with a monumental shift in the Vietnamese currency market. After years of trading at relatively stagnant rates, the Vietnamese Dong has surged, dramatically shattering previous ceilings and crossing thresholds that experts once deemed impossible. As of this week, multiple banking sources, including regional updates from Southeast Asia and currency monitoring platforms, have confirmed that the VND is trading at levels unseen in modern history. This unprecedented move appears to be tied directly to Vietnam's expanding role in global trade, its increasing gold-backed financial structures, and political stabilization efforts that have strengthened investor confidence. Now, let's get into the numbers that have everyone buzzing. The Vietnamese Dong has climbed past the long-held psychological barrier of 0.000043 USD per VND, and is now sitting closer to the 0.000682 to 0.00072 range, depending on the institution reporting. That might seem like a small decimal shift, but when you multiply that by the hundreds of thousands or even millions of Dong that people have in their possession, you start to see why this move is being called the most significant revaluation signal in the last decade. 1 million VND, once worth around $43 USD, is now hovering near $68 to $72, depending on the exchange venue. And with the trend line continuing upward, many believe we're only a short step away from full parity discussions with major global currencies. But this isn't just about numbers on a screen. What's happening right now is the culmination of years of groundwork laid by Vietnam's government and economic planners. In the past few years, Vietnam has diversified its economic alliances, tightened its monetary policy, and increased its foreign reserves, especially in gold and USD. Several insiders speculate that this movement is part of Vietnam's long-term plan to join a new global financial system, backed by asset-based currencies. If that's the case, the VND isn't just rising, it's transforming into something much bigger, a revalued, globally respected financial instrument. And it's not just the Vietnamese Dong making headlines. This move has put renewed spotlight on the Iraqi Dinar, which many RV watchers believe is the next currency in line for a dramatic value jump. With the Dong's success, there's growing pressure on Iraq's central bank to follow suit and release new data on their currency restructuring efforts. And when that happens, we could be seeing a 1-2 punch that redefines the entire RV landscape in 2025. Many are now wondering, is it time to cash in? That's the million-dollar question, literally, and the answer depends on a few key variables. First, where are you located? Certain banks in Asia and the Middle East have already begun processing higher VND exchange values, but US and European banks are still lagging behind in adopting the new rates. Second, are you working with a redemption center or Tier 1 bank that's participating in the private exchange process? We've received multiple confirmed reports from inside sources indicating that Tier 1 banks in the United States, specifically HSBC, Wells Fargo, and even some Chase branches are being prepped for a quiet rollout of new exchange protocols involving both the Dong and Dinar. If you're not yet in contact with a currency advisor or wealth manager who understands how these exchanges are handled, now is the time. There's a narrow window opening, one that favors those who are already prepared. Private group exchanges, NDA-based redemption appointments, and even tiered contract rates are all on the table. But they won't be for long. Once the general public becomes aware of what's happening, once the mainstream media catches up, it could be a frenzy, and the special rates could disappear just as quickly as they came. So, let's walk through the current status of Vietnamese Dong exchanges in the US and internationally. As of this week, several US currency holders have reported successful redemptions of VND at rates between 46 cents to 72 cents, depending on volume and institution. These exchanges were confirmed via bank receipts, some of which have been shared online and others verified privately through trusted intel sources. Importantly, these redemptions appear to be happening through controlled, invitation-only that public walk-ins likely won't be able to access these rates just yet. However, The mere fact that redemptions are occurring at these levels is proof that the revaluation isn't just theory anymore. It's becoming reality. What does this mean for the average VND holder? First and foremost, it means hope. After years, some even decades of waiting, the tide is finally turning. For those holding between 5 million to 50 million dong, we could be talking about life-changing gains. If even a conservative exchange rate of 35 cents, 50 cents becomes widely accepted, that's a return far beyond traditional investments, especially considering how inexpensive VND was to acquire initially. Second, it means preparation is essential. You must have your documents ready, your bank accounts prepared, and your strategy outlined. This is not the time to wait and sit, the time to act decisively. Meanwhile, eyes are also shifting to Iraq. Could the Vietnamese Dong's dramatic rise be the spark that ignites the long-awaited Dinar RV? With Vietnam showing that it's possible to leap from undervalued to revalued in such a short time frame, many are now pressuring the Iraqi government to follow suit. Prime Minister Soudani and the CBI have already hinted at major policy reforms that could result in a similar upward adjustment to the dinar. As Iraq continues to stabilize post-conflict, increase its oil exports, and develop closer economic partnerships with global allies, the conditions are aligning for the dinar to make its move. Let's also touch briefly on the spiritual and geopolitical dimension that many RV community members follow closely. According to several intel providers, this currency revaluation event is not just economic quits, part of a larger global realignment. Sources inside spiritual and intel communities believe that we're witnessing the birth of a new financial paradigm, one that moves away from debt-based fiat systems and into a new era of gold-backed or asset-backed currencies. In this view, Vietnam's currency success is not random. It's part of a synchronized global plan to shift power away from centralized banking monopolies and back into the hands of sovereign nations and free citizens. Another critical point to address is taxation. Many VND holders are wondering whether their potential gains will be taxed. The answer depends heavily on your country and the specific rules around capital gains and currency exchange. In the United States, some legal experts suggest that gains from a revaluation event may fall under non-taxable events. If the currency was purchased legally and held as an asset, others argue that the IRS may try to classify them as capital gains. This is where professional tax advice is non-negotiable. You need to speak with a CPA or financial advisor who understands international currency exchanges and can help you navigate the complex tax landscape that will inevitably follow this historic windfall. Let's zoom out for a moment. What's happening with the Vietnamese Dong is bigger than any one currency. It's a signal that the global monetary system is evolving rapidly. Emerging markets are stepping into the spotlight. The US dollar's dominance is no longer absolute. BRICS. Nations are launching competing financial systems. And individual investors, those of you who had the foresight to invest in VND or IQD when it was unpopular, are now being vindicated. You are no longer on the fringe. You're now at the center of one of the greatest financial stories of the 21st century. So, where do we go from here? First, don't panic. If you haven't exchanged your VND yet, don't worry. The momentum is on your side. As the rates continue to climb and banks slowly begin public rollouts, your window of opportunity will open wider. Second, don't go it alone. Get plugged into a trusted community. Stay informed through channels like RV News, and align yourself with professionals who can guide you through the redemption process. Third, and perhaps most importantly, have a plan. Know what you'll do. When your financial position changes, will you pay off debts? Start a foundation, build generational wealth. This is not just a money story, it's a transformation story. In conclusion, the Vietnamese Dong hitting its highest rate in history is not just a headline, it's a call to action. The revaluation is happening, piece by piece, step by step, and you, as a holder of VND or IQD, are on the front lines of this revolution. Make sure you stay prepared, stay informed, and stay hopeful. Because the future is